All right, we are live. Chuck Holton here coming to you from Panama. If obviously you have heard already that Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States, was shot today at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. He was giving a speech, and at one moment he's pointing out something about immigration, and then all of a sudden you hear pop, pop, pop on the video. He grabs his ear and goes down. Immediately the Secret Service comes in and pounces on him, and you hear more shooting going on in the distance. Eventually a Secret Service like SWAT team comes up and is very heavily armed, and they move him off to his limo after saying the shooter is down. So I just got off a 1 hour live broadcast on CBN's YouTube channel about this, but I just wanted to get this out because there is some new information, and I wanted to be able to actually discuss it with our viewers a little more. We had 55,000 people online or something on that last live. So the the comments were flying by so fast, there's no way we could even read them hardly. So if you have a question during this live, as One Tired Mama is saying there, please put the word question in all caps and then put your question in all caps. If you just have a comment, please do not put it in all caps. I am watching the comments. I see your comments. And if I don't answer your question, don't get your undies in a wad. It's just because I'm right in the middle of a thought and I don't want to stop what I'm talking about to answer your question. I'll try to get to it later. If I don't, you can feel free to re-ask your question afterwards. First thing I want to do as I'm getting started here is I want to show you the video of the shooting and let you watch and listen to it. And we're going to do this a couple of times because I think it's important. Every time I watch it, I see something different, and you get a better sense for what's happening. Here it goes.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Move it there. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go.
Okay, so I'll come back to that in a little bit, but okay, then we got a first couple of questions here real quick. I'll see if I can get through these. Why was there no Secret Service on that roof in 3 to 4 minute lag in response to reports of that the shooter was there? How could the Secret Service miss seeing this guy on the roof? They were not far from him. So let's go through and talk about that. The Secret Service, according to a report on that was given to the Federalist, according to a report on Twitter that I saw, has been asking for more Secret Service protection, more help, more resources to be able to protect President Trump as he's on the campaign trail. And they say they have been ignored in that by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. It may be that they don't have the resources to give him, but they've been asking apparently for more resources, and they were a little short. So that could be one reason why they missed a guy in camouflage with an assault rifle climbing up on the roof and taking aim at the president. Now, I'm not going to air this one on YouTube because I don't want to get demonetized, but I put it up on chuckholton.com. You can go over there and watch it. There's a video from the BBC where a BBC reporter talked to a Trump supporter who was there at the rally, who says that he saw the shooter. He and his friends stepped out under some trees to get some shade because it was hot, and they were behind those buildings. They saw the guy climb up on the roof, and they're like, there's a guy climbing up on that roof, and he's low crawling up to the edge of the roof with his rifle, and they're just like yelling at the police and going, "Hey, there's a guy on the roof." And the police are like, "What?" Not paying attention. This kid says that he stood there and pointed at that roof for a couple of minutes, just like waving at the Secret Service and pointing over there at the roof. And they didn't do anything until the guy opened fire on the crowd. Now, just in case you haven't been keeping up with this, Donald Trump is alive. He was hit in the ear, and there's one report by the AP, and if you watched my live earlier today, you know how untrustworthy the AP is. They say, oh, it wasn't a bullet that hit him. He was hit by broken glass that was flying from a teleprompter. Well, if you watch that video again, you can clearly see that the teleprompters are still intact. And that means that what he was hit with was a bullet. And in some of the close-up photographs after he was shot, once he got back up, you can see the blood on his ear, and it looks like there's a neat hole in the top of his ear. He's going to have to put a gauge in that or something now just to look cool. But it looks to me like he actually took a bullet in the ear. That means that President Trump just came within half an inch of being assassinated today. This is historic, folks. This is a big deal. I mean, to say it's a big deal is an understatement, right? So do you think when Biden said putting Trump in a bullseye, Jason Simonson, you're going to have to make that into a question. That's not a question. But obviously, keyword, bullseye, he did do that. You can imagine if Donald Trump had said, we need to put Biden in a bullseye, and Biden had just got shot in the ear, that the Democrats would be screaming bloody murder about the fact that Trump was calling for violence against that. But I'm not going to engage in that. We're big boys, and we're smart enough to know that when Joe Biden says we need to put Trump in a bullseye, he doesn't mean physically. He doesn't mean actually put him in the bullseye of a rifle. Of course, he doesn't mean that. Let's be reasonable, and let's give the other side, so to speak, the benefit of the doubt here, and not engage in the same kind of rhetoric that the Democrats would obviously engage in. Because if you do, then you can't criticize them when they do the same thing. When they say that Donald Trump was calling for violence on January 6th, when he was obviously not calling for violence, and in a much more specific way than this. If Donald Trump giving a speech on on January 6th and saying, go be peaceful, make sure you stay peaceful, was calling for violence, then what is it when Joe Biden says, let's put Trump in a bullseye? But again, we're going to take it the way that Biden obviously meant it, and not, start playing those rhetorical games. Okay. But here's the thing that just absolutely blew my mind. An hour after the shooting, when there was enough information out all over social media and the AP and elsewhere was, everybody was calling it a shooting. CNN, I want you to see what CNN's website looked like, what the front page of their website looked like. Here's the main story on CNN's website: dozens killed as Israel targets Hamas military chief. It does, so they're still beating up on Israel for bombing Mohammed Deif earlier this morning. And over here in the corner, you can see Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. So they make it look like Donald Trump is a doddering old fool and he fell over at a rally, just like Biden is wont to do, and didn't get shot. Now, it was 100%. Once that video came out, anybody who knows anything about guns knows that he got shot. Now, I saw somebody comment that it sounded like a 22 rifle. I've heard several people comment on social media about that. The reason for that is not that it was a 22. It wasn't a 22. There's no way he would have gone to all that trouble and died, because the shooter was immediately killed by counter snipers from the Secret Service. There's no way he would have gone through that with a 22. That's just dumb. But the reason that it sounds like a 22 is because microphones on, video microphones have a feature on them that cuts out if something too loud happens, so that it doesn't damage the circuitry of the microphone. And so when a very loud, like gunshots happen, it clamps down on the sensitivity of the microphone and makes it much, much quieter. And believe me, I know this from personal experience, from all the time that I've spent in war zones. I've been around a lot of explosions and gunfire, and that's what microphones do. They auto gate down, so that, no, it was an assault rifle. If we go back and listen to the shots again, I'll just play this shooting one more time, and we can listen to these shots. I want you to listen and try to count how many shots are in the first volley, because that's the shooter. Seconds later, you hear about 2 more shots. That's the counter sniper. And then you hear a bunch more shots. That's the Secret Service returning fire on this guy. I want you to listen, though, and see if you can count the shots from the shooter, the first volley. Listen.
And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Okay, so oh boy, Scorp is saying that the 22 is the deadliest round. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh at your ignorance, but to say that the 22 is the most dangerous round is patently ridiculous. I'm sorry. That I'm not trying to make fun of you. That's ridiculous. 22 is not the most dangerous round. We could go deep into that if you like, but you heard the number of shots there. So obviously that was a semi-automatic rifle. If that was a semi-automatic rifle, then most likely it was a 5.56 millimeter AR platform, maybe M4 platform, something like that. Okay. Now, an AR platform with a 5.56 millimeter is essentially a 223 bullet. NATO calls it 5.56 millimeter, but they're both the same. You can fire either one out of an AR-15. And a 223 is, the bullet itself is about like, about the weight, the size, I mean, the caliber of a 22 bullet. It's a little heavier most of the time, but it's about the same diameter as a 22 bullet. However, a 5.56 millimeter round fires at about 2,500 feet per second. And a 22 caliber would be much, much, much slower than that. And at 2,500 feet per second from a typical AR-15, which has a 16-inch barrel, what you can do is you can apply a little bit of algebra here, and you can go back and you can listen to that audio, and you can time it, the sounds between the impact and the report. Because as anybody who's ever been shot at knows, typically you hear the bullet before you hear the gun. So when I was in Panama during the invasion of Panama 100 years ago, when somebody started shooting at me with a machine gun as I was trying to run across a road one time, I heard crack, 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 pop, 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 crack, 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 pop, pop, pop. And the crack, crack, crack was the sound of the bullets going by me, breaking the sound barrier as they went by. And the pop, pop, pop was the sound of the machine gun that was several hundred meters away. So if you, people have already done this. I mean, there are open source intel guys, Health Rangers done it on Twitter, that have already taken the recording of that shooting and have timed out the report, the impact, the report of the gun, and you can actually figure out how far away the gun was, knowing what we know about standard rounds out of a 5.56 millimeter. And as it turns out, that gun was about 400 to 450 feet away from Donald Trump, from the microphones on the podium. And so I have a map here of the site, and if you draw it out, it shows you where the shooter was. The shooter was on this building right here, where the red thumbtack is, and he took a shot at Donald Trump, who was standing right where the blue thumbtack is. Okay? And so this raises the question that everybody's asking now: how could the Secret Service have failed so spectacularly and caused this to happen? Now, I just want to stop here and say that this photograph of Donald Trump, which is, I had the name of the guy that took it. He's the head AP photographer in Washington, D.C., very good photographer. This is a career-making shot. This guy is going to make, his career is made off of this one photograph. And it's got the flag in the background. It's got the Secret Service. It's got Donald Trump with the bloody face and holding up his fist in defiance. As he stood back up, Donald Trump started yelling, "Fight, fight, fight." A lot of people are saying that just won him the election. Now, yeah, that is an epic photo. And I need to go back and find, again, the guy who took that picture, because he deserves the praise for taking the photograph. Wow, somebody actually got a photo of the bullet going by just as it flew through the air next to President Trump. Wow, that's amazing. Now, this is not a terribly, this is rare, obviously rare for a president or a presidential candidate to get shot, but it has happened 4 times. 4 American presidents, well, actually 6, have been shot in office. 4 died and 2 didn't. Abraham Lincoln, assassinated April 14th, 1865 by John Wilkes Booth. James A. Garfield, shot July 2nd and didn't die until September 19th, but died from his wounds. William McKinley, shot in 1901. And John F. Kennedy, assassinated in 1963 by Lee Harvey Oswald, as we know. Also, Theodore Roosevelt was shot on October 14th, 1912 while campaigning. And the shot wounded him, but he had his speech in his pocket, and the bullet lodged in it must have been a long speech because, it stopped the bullet. And he went on to finish the speech before he went to get medical attention. Hardcore. You got to like that. Ronald Reagan was shot March 30th, 1981 by John Hinckley Jr. and it almost killed him, pierced his lung, but missed his heart, thank God. And so now Donald Trump gets to add his name to that illustrious list. And there have been other assassination attempts on U.S. presidents that did not, where they didn't get shot because the gun misfired, or like, for example, there was a shooter that shot at the White House while President Clinton was home inside the White House, but President Clinton wasn't hit by that. So there are several. Gerald Ford survived 2 assassination attempts in the same month. And one, the gun misfired, and the other one, the gun didn't misfire, but a bystander grabbed the pistol just as it was being fired. Holy cow. So this obviously, and now a lot of people are saying this won him the election. I think that it definitely gives him a bump in the polls. When Jair Bolsonaro in 2018 was stabbed at a campaign rally, it gave him a huge bump in the polls, and he ended up winning the presidency in Brazil. So I think that this is not going to end up being a bad thing for Donald Trump, as long as it doesn't create some sort of, pushback violence where, somebody on Trump's side now gets angry and goes and starts shooting at somebody or something like that. I think that this ends up being a very good thing for the Trump campaign. Joe Biden, it took him an hour, more than an hour, to come out with a statement about this. Benjamin Netanyahu came out with a statement faster than Biden did. Biden was asked about it as he was leaving church, and he said, "I don't know anything about it. What are you talking about?" That's not a good look for Joe Biden. But the Biden administration, and you might say, well, he was in church. So, yeah, I mean, they shouldn't have bothered him with this. Well, that's fine, except that Joe Biden does not handle his own accounts, his own social media accounts. And so his Twitter team could have easily put out something. Biden is being briefed on the situation, something. But they didn't. They were hiding somewhere going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So anyway, just for the people who are now joining us, Donald Trump wounded by a shooter's bullet, shot in the ear, missed his cranium by a half an inch, and the shooter himself is dead. There has been a lot of speculation and rumors flying around on social media about who the shooter is. I've seen that he's a white guy. I've seen that he's an Antifa guy that looks like a Latin American guy that they've been putting pictures up. And I've also heard that he was Chinese. I guess time will tell, and we shouldn't start commenting on who the shooter was or what his motivation was until we get some hard information, because the first photograph that came up, they had a name and a photograph that came up and said this guy was a shooter and he was killed. Well, he was a very robust individual, very heavy guy. They said that he posted on YouTube before the shooting and said, like, judgment is coming. But then other people came back and said that photograph is like from some guy in Spain or something. That's not, that's an old photograph. So we just don't know much about the shooter yet. What I'm trying to help you do is read between the lines, watch the video, and infer what we can reasonably infer about the shooting without going into conspiracy theory or speculation, because the Bible says we're to rightly divide the word of truth. And that's specifically talking about the scriptures. But I think that also extends to the truth of what's happening around us. We should be able to have a true sense of what's happening around us. And so we should be very careful about engaging in conspiracy theory. We should be very careful about spreading rumors. And so if we're going to talk about, oh, there's somebody out there saying that the shooter was a Chinese man, I'm going to tell you that's a rumor. That has not been confirmed. And there are rumors, like I said, that he was Antifa. I would be more inclined to believe he was Antifa because, I mean, you know, Latin American white Chinese Antifa guy. Yeah, there we go. A illegal immigrant, Latin American white Chinese guy. There we go. That's perfect, right there. It was Corn Pop, somebody said. Shell 73 said it was Corn Pop that did it. Yeah, but we just don't know. We just know that he's dead. That's a good thing. Unfortunately, so is a poor woman who was sitting behind Donald Trump in the stands that was hit by one of those 5 or 6 rounds that he managed to fire. See, those bullets go somewhere. If they don't hit your intended target, they may hit somebody else. And apparently this guy didn't care. And so some poor old woman who was very excited, no doubt, to have gotten a coveted seat in the stands right behind Donald Trump ended up catching a bullet and dying today, needlessly, senselessly, and we should pray for her family for sure. Question, since the federal government will be conducting this investigation, can we trust them to be honest? Absolutely not. I don't think that you can trust anything that comes out of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You know that anything that they can use to spin this in a way in the middle of an election season that will make it a little less damaging to Joe Biden, they will do. And so you have to keep in mind, as information comes out in this investigation, that the Biden administration will be, without a doubt, putting its thumb on the scale to try to influence in some way the investigation to make it not quite as damning for the Biden administration. Now, that said, there's a lot of open source intelligence out there, and the open source intel guys, there are people out there who live for this stuff. This guy, health ranger, that actually calculated the distance of the shot from the sounds that he got off of the video. I didn't do that. He did that. And there are people who live for this stuff, and they're good at it. And so we will be able to get a lot of information from the open source intelligence community. But I just want to tell you, now I want to go back through the shooting video again. We got 2,800 people online. Please go hit the like button and tell YouTube that more people need to be watching this live right now. We're going to show the shooting video once more time, because every time I watch it, like I said, I see something different. I notice something different about it, and I want you to have that option too. So I'm going to show it, and we're going to discuss some more things about this video. Take a look.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you...
Now I'm going to turn the sound down here so that you can hear me talking. And so the shots come in. The Secret Service is on top of Donald Trump within seconds. The more Secret Service come. There are people looking off to the right of the camera and running that direction. So it's likely that that's the direction that the shooting came from. People up in the stands are looking both directions, and when the camera zooms out, you can actually see people looking off to the left of the camera. You see here these guys in full rattle battle that come up on the stage. One of them says, "The shooter is down." And I may have missed that.
Shooter's down. Are we good to move? We're clear. Let's move. We're clear.
Okay, so I'm backing this up a little bit. You see here, like I say, people running.
We ready?
This guy on the SWAT team or whatever that runs up there, he's just, you know what he's doing? He's looking for another shooter. He's because these guys are trained to to not just, okay, so the first shooter is down. He was taken out by a counter sniper team that was on a rooftop somewhere else and taken out within seconds. But when the SWAT team comes in, they get up there and they start looking around because they're looking for a second shooter, a third shooter. The Secret Service is very concerned because they are trained to not just relax once the shooter is taken out. They're looking for another guy because this could be a coordinated attack. There could be a bomb in play. And so they've got to get the president off the X, as they call it. They got to move him off the X. That is the focal point where the shooting is going, the bombs may go. They got to get him to a safe location as soon as possible. Now, Trump can be heard on the camera going, wait, get my shoes, get my shoes. How he came out of his shoes, I don't know, maybe when they tackled him. But he also starts standing up and he's climbing up above the Secret Service guys and raising his fist and everything. And this is just absolute theatric gold for Donald Trump. This is the kind of thing that will win him the election. He's showing he's not afraid. He's exposing himself. But the Secret Service guys are losing their minds because they have to keep him out of the line of fire. They have to shield him with their bodies. So if you can see Donald Trump's head, they're not shielding him with their bodies. And they're like wanting him to get lower, and he's trying to get higher and show that he's not dead and that he's not stopping. And he gets up there and he's yelling, fight, fight, fight. So let's watch that. So I'm going to fast forward here. And as they start to get him up, just watch how he starts to climb. He starts to expose himself potentially to any other shooter. Look at him. Look at him. He's climbing up there. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. No problem. Now, I bet if they would have let him, he would have finished his speech. There's no doubt in my mind. He looks like he's ready to come down off that platform and go after the shooter himself. But look at them. They're trying to block any other possible shot on him, and he's not cooperating. So, yeah, look at him. He's standing up there. Bad idea, Mr. President. Don't stand up there and but he's trying to show that he's unbowed. And, you can criticize him for, making this into a photo op. But you got to hand it to him. He wasn't afraid. How much worse would it have been for his campaign if he had crawled to his car and gotten in? He did what a president would do. He did what a leader would do. Now, some people are going to, you can bet in the days to come, Trump is going to be highly criticized on the left for what he did, for standing up and shaking his fist and everything like that. But you have to hand it to him. That was hardcore. I already hear people talking about this is going to spark a civil war. I don't think it's going to spark a civil war. Why? Because American conservatives are not that crazy. The Republicans, they're not that crazy. And they haven't been pushed over the edge yet. Now, if Trump had been murdered today, we could be at a flashpoint. Just think about what the response from the right, especially the hard right, the people who worship Donald Trump. Just think about what the response would have been had Donald Trump been assassinated today. So, I mean, that is the scariest scenario right there. And I hate to say it, but I'm afraid that that day, the day when the peaceable people on the right are pushed too far, that day is coming. Giant Slayer says, in the background behind Trump on stage, a person falls over and doesn't move after the shot that hit Trump. Is that the other person that was killed? No, that's just people ducking from the shots. The person that was killed was over on, as you look at it was on the left of the camera, the right of the stage, up in the stands, the far, far, far right, almost out of the frame when the shooting happened. Well, it is out of the frame when the shooting happened. You don't even see that part where the woman died until the camera pans out some. Why weren't the Secret Service snipers on the roof? Well, they can't be on every roof. And I mentioned this at the beginning. There is some talk that the Secret Service has been asking for more resources because of the size of the Trump rallies. Trump's rallies are massive and they're wild. Biden's rallies have a couple hundred people. Fairly easy to contain. They can do it in a high school gym and be in the air conditioning. Trump's rallies are like on airfields and stuff, and they're completely packed with tens of thousands of people, and they're very difficult to secure. Now, everybody that goes to one of these rallies has to put their name in ahead of time so that the Secret Service can do a background check. And then they go through metal detectors. They can't bring bags in, things like that. So, the Secret Service does a lot to secure the venues. But if they were short-staffed and the Department of Homeland Security was ignoring their pleas for more resources, this is really bad. And that will likely be a huge talking point on the right in the days and weeks to come, is that the Biden administration, the Department of Homeland Security under the Biden administration, intentionally short-staffed the Secret Service at the Trump rallies, hoping that something like this would happen. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you are going to hear that in the news. And so, yeah, that's big. Now, so I saw somebody asked, is it hard to tell where the shooting is coming from? I can tell you from personal experience, I've been shot at many times. It is very difficult to know where the shots are coming from until you get trained on how to do it. When a bullet goes by you and doesn't hit you, thank heaven, you hear the bullet first. You heard me say that already. You hear the bullet snap, and it's a very sharp crack as the bullet goes by, because that's the bullet breaking the sound barrier, and you're hearing the shock wave of that hit your eardrums. But since you don't hear it until the bullet snaps past you, then you're actually hearing it. The shock wave travels perpendicular to the bullet. And so that means you hear the sound coming, like, let's say from my right, because the bullet passed me. Let's say somebody shot at me from in front of me. Okay? And the bullet passes by my right side. Once it hits right about here, the shock wave of that is going to hit my eardrum, and I'm going to hear it as if it came from that direction, off to my right. And so I'm going to be looking over here because it sounds like the bullet came from that direction, when in reality it came from this direction. So once you've been trained in this, and you maybe have been shot at a few times, you learn that if it sounds like it came from my right, then it either came from my front or my back. I don't know exactly which. And unless I've heard the bullet impact somewhere, if I heard the bullet impact, let's say behind me, then I know that it came from in front of me and it missed to the right. Okay, does that make sense? But you can see the people in the stands who have not been trained to determine which direction the bullet came from. They're looking all over the place. And a lot of them look to the sides, even though the bullet kind of came from the front left of the stage. But, they don't, or maybe it was the front right of the stage, actually. Yeah, I was thinking it was actually the front right of the stage. But they're looking to the left, they're looking to the right, because they're hearing the shockwave of the bullet go by, and that gives them a false impression of where the bullet comes from, okay? Now, also, if a bullet is close, and this bullet was as close as they get, it sounds different than if it's far away. So, and I can't, it's hard to describe that. That's just something that I've learned over the years, that sometimes I'll be, in the war zone, and I'll hear shooting, and people start ducking, the other journalists start ducking all around me, and I just keep walking because those bullets are really far away. We're hearing the gun and not the bullet. So when you just hear pow, 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 as with the machine gun, but you're not hearing crack, 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 crack before you hear the pow, 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 well, they're not shooting at me. So I can just keep walking. I'm not worried. But if I hear go by me, and then I hear pow off in the distance, then the bullet's getting close. And that's when it's time to take cover. In this case, the only thing Donald Trump probably heard was a thwacking sound as the bullet hit his ear. But I guess we'll have to ask him if we ever get a chance. So thank you for watching, folks. You can go to chuckholton.com. I put some videos up over there and photographs and stuff that I am not able to share on YouTube. There are videos that are coming out, some of which are fairly graphic now, of some of the wounded, of the people who were wounded. I think there was 2 wounded, 1 lightly, and one's in the hospital and 1 was killed. That was the last I heard anyway. Now, but you can go to chuckholton.com and you can look at those videos. You can sign up over there. Also, I would ask that you go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's very helpful and tells YouTube that this is worth watching. Okay? Now, the director of the Secret, I don't want to go into this too much, but there is some speculation out there that the Secret Service is not what it once was. The director of the Secret Service is Kimberly Cheadle, a female director of the Secret Service. I don't know anything about her. We'll have to get my friend Tim Miller on here and see what he thinks about her. But here's what I can say, and I don't want you to take this as heavy criticism or anything like that of the Secret Service. Look, when you watch that video, those Secret Service agents count. Let's count how long it took them from the first shot to the point where they were covering Donald Trump with their bodies. Okay, let's go back and we'll watch this video one more time, and I want you to count how long it took from the first shot to where Secret Service covered Donald Trump. Listen.
Chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Okay. I counted 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Donald Trump went, ow, and then went like that. And by the time he got on the ground, they were already diving on top of him. Raw 2029 says the sound was small caliber. Let me explain one more time because you probably weren't on when I explained that the last time. It sounds like a small caliber. All gunshots, for the most part, sound small caliber on video cameras because the microphones on video cameras shut down large noises and make them much quieter so that you don't damage the circuitry of the microphones. And so that could have been a 7.62 millimeter AK-47. It could have been something even bigger than that. It could have been a 338 Lapua. And it would have sounded like that most likely because the microphone, first of all, what you heard was not the gun, but the bullet going by. Okay, you heard the bullet going by first, then you heard the sound of the gun. You heard what the microphone heard, okay? So I heard 6 pops. That probably means that there were 3 bullets. Because you hear snap, pop, snap, pop, snap, pop, like that. Okay? So it was not a 22. I can virtually guarantee you it was not a 22. But it sounds like it because the microphone gated that sound out, the loud noise. Now, there are rumors going around that the shooter was Chinese. There are rumors, there are published reports that the shooter was a white guy. And there are photographs floating around, rumors, that he was Latino. He looked Latino anyway. We're just going to have to wait and see about that. All right. Again, I'm going to show you this map. The shooter was on this rooftop over here. Donald Trump was down here at the bottom of the screen. And the crowd was to the left or in this open area out there. So that means that the bullet came from the right side of the stage, the left side of the camera. Okay, and it was about a 400-yard shot. That's a pretty long shot. 400. It looks to me like more like 400 feet, not 400 yards, but I could be wrong. Because it doesn't look like 4 football fields to me. Does that look like 4 football fields to you? I mean, a football field would be the size of maybe 2/3 of the area where the crowd was out in front of the podium. Next to these, what are those stadium lights or whatever that are up on in the middle of the screen. So it looks to me like about a 400-foot shot. But I could be wrong about that. And suffice it to say, it had to be a weapon with a scope on it. And it was not a 22. And since he was able to fire off multiple rounds in quick succession, it was not a bolt-action deer rifle or anything like that. It was most likely some sort of AR platform, 5.56 millimeter. I say that because that's the most common. There are literally millions of those in America, and they're very, very easy to get. I just bought one the other day for about $500. So, 38 special long rifle. Oh my goodness! And let's not talk about that. Yeah, with the 12 gauge, it was a 12 gauge shotgun. Let's keep going. I'm highly amused at this. Thank you for that $10, Ask Yeshka. I appreciate you. There's a video I put up on my locals page. If you go to chuckholton.com, that shows this video, this interview from the BBC with a kid who saw the shooter crawling up on the roof and was trying to point him out to the police. But the police kind of ignored him. They're like, no, we're busy protecting the president. Leave us alone. Sawed-off shotgun, 45. Oh boy, yes. You guys are gonna make me start to twitch. My eyes are gonna start twitching. Here, peanut. Yeah, no, it was airsoft. That's what it was. It was airsoft. Yeah. You guys are killing me. Potato gun. Oh my gosh, you guys are funny. Anyway, Donald Trump most likely was wearing body armor. He probably doesn't go anywhere these days without a bulletproof vest. But a bulletproof vest isn't going to help if you get hit in the dome. And that's obviously where the shooter was aiming. Now, why the shooter had the higher ground? Well, because he climbed up on a roof, Hassan. So that gave him the high ground. And a paintball. So I guess that answers your question. It was an AK-57 Uzi Raider laser triple barrel double scoped heat seeking shotgun. That's what it was. Okay. And I can repeat that if you didn't catch all that. Question, you said there are open source investigatee. You must have hit return without finishing your question. Yeah, there are a lot of open source investigators out there. I'll point out a few. There's a very graphic photo of the would-be shooter that has been posted on X. And I certainly could not broadcast that. It would get me banned off YouTube because the guy got literally shot in the cranium. And it is looks like a 20-something white guy in the picture. I will put the photo up on chuckholton.com. I'll do that while we're talking here. And I'm just going to call this graphic, and I'm going to make it for subscribers only because this is a pretty graphic photo. And so I probably, well, it wouldn't be a good idea to post that in public. This is apparently, you can probably find it if you go on X. It's under the account of @NationalFile. @NationalFile, if you want to go to X and look it up. You can see the picture for yourself if they haven't taken it down yet. Pretty graphic. But it shows a white guy with a scruffy kind of beard. And he's very dead. This guy has taken the room temperature challenge and has gone shuffled off this mortal coil and is standing before his creator answering for what he just tried to do. So, yeah, is it peanut or pnut? That's what I want to know. Very disturbing. Very disturbing that this could happen, or, that it happened in this day and age. It's obvious that our country is very highly divided to the point that, hi, Matt. Hey, Matt, there's Matt Hill. He's a good friend. Official Red Ryder carbine action 200-shot range model air rifle with compass in the stock. Yeah. Oh, boy. This is getting out of control. The Secret Service does have counter sniper teams at the rallies. Not sniper teams, counter sniper teams. Their job is to shoot the snipers, not be the snipers. But it takes the same set of skills. And they, if you go back and watch that video again, they likely killed the sniper within 5 seconds. 10 at the outside. He doesn't look Chinese to me. He looks like a very dead white guy. He looks a lot like some of the Antifa guys that attacked me when I was out in Portland reporting on the attacks against the courthouse there during the Trump administration. So his face is a different color than his neck. No, his neck has blood on it, and his t-shirt is bloody. So now he got domed by the Secret Service counter sniper team, and he bled a lot. People do tend to bleed a lot when you shoot them in the head. Now, let me just stray a little bit into the ethics of killing people. Some people say that killing is wrong. some people say killing is a sin. I got ambushed one time at a liberal Methodist church that asked me to come speak on one topic. And when I got there, they just wanted to grill me on how could I be a soldier and call myself a Christian and kill people. And I just want to talk about the fact that sometimes killing people is the most loving thing that you can do for them. I want to give you a scenario, and you tell me. Let's say that I'm a soldier, and I'm in Afghanistan, and I'm guarding a marketplace, or I'm in Israel, and I'm guarding someplace in the old city. And I'm standing there, and it's a market day, and so there's a lot of people milling around, women and children in there buying what they need to survive. And all of a sudden I see a terrorist with a bomb strapped to his chest running into that marketplace, obviously intent on detonating the suicide vest and killing as many people as possible. What's the most loving thing I could do for the people in the marketplace? Well, I would submit to you the most loving thing I could do would be to shoot that guy in the face. But more than that, what's the most loving thing that I could do for that jihadi, for that extremist, that guy with a vest on that's about to immolate himself and take a bunch of people with him? The most loving thing I could do would be to keep him from taking a bunch of people with him, because he's going to have to answer for every one of those people. So shooting the bad guy in the face is actually the most loving thing I can do for that guy. Eve Sparks says, scream loud for all to hear. There's not time. There's seconds. This guy's running into the marketplace. He's going to detonate in seconds. I can't warn the people. I can't reason with that extremist. The only thing I can do is either shoot him in the face or stand by and watch a whole bunch of innocent people die. And I would submit to you that the most loving thing I could do would be to kill him. And so those counter snipers today, yes, one-tired mama, it's a hard truth. Love sometimes is hard. And those counter snipers today did the most loving thing possible for that wayward young man. I weep for his soul, you know. So Rangers lead the way. Oh. Yeah. Trump's fist raised in defiance after being shot is going to be the photo of the year. This photo is going to go down in the history books. Yes, Abel Malagon says killing and murder are two different things. I agree. C.S. Lewis agreed too. He said that all killing is not murder, just like all sex is not adultery. So there is a moral difference. And combat veterans who are Christians have to come to terms with those things. And I feel like one of the reasons why I don't suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder after all the things I've seen, after all the places I've been, is because I've spent a lot of time nailing down those moral quandaries in my head. Ask Yeska, yes. He says, FYI, if you translate it properly, the word in the Bible, in the Ten Commandments, is thou shalt not murder. It's not thou shalt not kill. Translated correctly, it is thou shalt not commit murder. And there are times when people in the Bible are commanded to kill by God. So, question, will heads roll at Secret Service and local police there? I hope so. Now, I was getting to that. This is probably the last thing I've got here today, but I was getting to that. The Secret Service, if I've watched this clip over and over and over again, and I've watched the Secret Service, and their reaction time was astounding, spectacular, great job. Their willingness to put themselves in the line of fire, spectacular. Great job. Later on, you see people in the crowd who at first duck down and like, what's going on? And then they realize, oh, there's people shooting. And then they hit the dirt. And then after they get Donald Trump back up and he starts waving his fist and everything, then the whole crowd jumps up and starts waving and everything. The Secret Service people are losing their minds. Thank you, Fluffy Birdie. People do this on purpose. They name themselves the most unmanly of names and then send me a contribution, which I greatly appreciate. But then I have to say thank you to you and thank you, Fluffy Birdie. That's just sort of, I don't know, awkward for me. Thank you, MM. Good to see you here. But the Secret Service is not done. After the shooter was killed and the Secret Service is trying to bundle Trump off to the vehicle, the Secret Service is still looking for other shooters. They're looking around. And they're expecting something else to happen. That goes along with their training. They're expecting that this is not over yet. And so we've got to stay on. And so you see, they still have their weapons out. Now, I have to say, there's at least one instance I saw of a Secret Service agent with her weapon out, and Trump is gone at this point. He's driving away in the vehicle, and she's still standing around with her pistol out, pointing it at the crowd of thousands of people. That's a judgment call, but I mean, I've had gun safety drilled into me so hard that I would say it probably would have been better for her to have her weapon at the low ready, which is still up, still ready to shoot, but not pointing this way, not pointing out at all the nice people that are there, but pointing down at the ground like this. Just stand there like this and be ready to shoot anything so that, God forbid, if you accidentally jerk that trigger, you don't kill somebody in the crowd. Can you imagine the pushback, the fallout if a Secret Service agent had an accidental discharge right then and killed somebody else in the crowd? Come on, one tired mama. Don't do this to me. But oh my goodness. Why don't we get somebody named Skull Crusher to send me a $4 or something, and then I can say, hey, thank you, Skull Crusher. I appreciate you. Good to see you, Carol. Glad you're here. When you see welcome to supporter come up there, that's people who have signed up to actually be supporters on YouTube. I have a bunch of people who are supporters on locals, and they say, hey, how come it doesn't give me a big green thing when I come up on YouTube? Well, because you're not a supporter on YouTube. Take your pick. And I'm very happy for all of you that are supporters. I love you all. And I'm certainly not slighting anyone, but when I see somebody who is a supporter, that it does, let me know that, then I like to say hello to them, because if you're going to be kind enough to donate monthly to the cause of keeping me doing this job, to the Starving Holton Children Fund, or now it's Grandchildren Fund, as we say, then I am very grateful, and I'd like to call out people that are here who are supporters. So we love all of you. Please go hit the like button and go ahead. Thank you, MCeric1010. That's almost as bad as Fluffy Birdie. I don't know what that means. Oh my goodness. Yeah, go hit the subscribe button here on YouTube. That doesn't cost you anything, and you can also do that at chuckholton.com. And then you'll get notified when we're going to do more of these lives. Okay, well, that is all that I've got for today. This is the second live I've done today, but this is a pretty historic moment. we need to pray for Donald Trump, pray for this election. Hello, Michelle. Glad to have you here. We need to pray for America. America is so divided, and as such, we project a very weak image to the world, and that makes the entire world more dangerous. And so please do pray for Donald Trump. Pray for our leaders. There we go, Skull Crusher. Thank you, Skull Crusher. I highly appreciate your... Hey, Skull Crusher, send me an email at hotzoneholton@gmail.com, and I will send you one of my books, just because I really appreciate that. Thank you for saving me there, so I don't have to say all these weird names anymore. Okay, when police ignored the citizen report of the shooter on the roof beforehand, I was reminded of personal experiences with woke police. This is a big problem with policing, that when police are treated as the enemy, they start to see all of us as their enemy, and their only friends are, their fellow policemen. And so if a citizen runs up and says, hey, I've got something for you, I need to help you, you need to know this, their first inclination is going to be to go, yeah, leave me alone. I know how to do my job. I don't need some nasty civilian teaching me how to do my job. And I don't know that that was the case here, but it is something that I have noticed in my career as I've gone around and interviewed cops. Yeah, it's a big deal. All right, so a historic day. Tomorrow is Sunday. I hope you can get some rest. I won't be live tomorrow unless there's something even bigger that happens. And so I'm going to take some time off and recover, and we'll be back on Monday. So God bless you. Thank you very much for being a part of the Hot Zone. I'm Chuck Holton. We'll see you next time.